everyone, and welcome to Friday Dojo. It's Dojo 302, I believe, and it is the first day of spring, which means that we're on the equinox, the balance of light and dark. Dark's dominion will be moving southward as anyone here in the northern hemisphere, that is, gets to enjoy spring. I know I certainly have. I've been a little under the weather, James, these last couple of weeks. April brought what I thought was a low-grade fever home, and Ira and I have been going through it for since like last Saturday. And winter reminds me a little bit of privation, which I can deal with in a lot of different ways. But windedness is something that it gets to me. You talk about zodiacs and signs and the things we associate with. I am a Gemini, and when my wind is spent, it can be demoralizing, and it makes me think of what you were saying today about Adam Kadmon and atoms and our bodily entombments and it's just been a really exciting. I'm excited actually today. I feel a little better than I've felt in the last couple of weeks, and I've been paying attention to what everyone's been doing. Um, but I'm just now kind of back to where I've been energetically. I've been thinking a little bit, James, about baptism. You were the first person to ever put it to me that John the Baptist's work might have been inducing a near-death experience, and how revolutionary that might have been for a culture who didn't believe in forgiveness or anything being undone that didn't make logical sense. The most you could do is cover our mistakes and our misdeeds. And maybe in all of that desperation, someone like John the Baptist did introduce a way to be reborn into the body, and almost a sense of cleansing. And as we talked about last time I was here, an undressing of so many narrative impositions. When the yoke gets too heavy. I love what you've said recently about the yoke, James, as far as recognizing that for a long time, and still to this very day, it is considered an honor and a privilege to be yoked. We see it still in the way. I would say, like, in pop culture, when you talk about necklaces and bracelets and tennis bracelets and everything, we see that we honor those things. And yet, on the other hand, we also tend to associate a yoke with a beast of burden. And we end up wanting to be above those things. Um, Easter is coming up. I guess it's still a little ways away. I've been thinking about it. Because of this illness that I've been going through, it caused me to fast and also to let go of a couple of material things that are creature comforts. Because sometimes you want you want death, and it just won't come. Uh, and uh, and that makes me think. That makes me feel demonic in a sense. I think of being trapped in a place and not being able to be freed.
Yeah, that's a terrifying one. Uh, the only way that I think that you would feel a sense that you will always be liberated is if you had mortality, is if you knew you were going to die, that the no one could touch you. You become untouchable. Mortality gives you a power. Isn't that backwards? It's so backwards. But I swear, I don't. I think that if we were immortal, we would be bitching. We would be telling you that the entire cosmology is built of an evil being that wanted to trap us here forever. I swear to you, that's how it would feel. Because you can't have amnesia within a system that has immortality. The amnesia is here to make you forget, knowing that you will create a cosmology to explain. And the cosmology that you make will be directly reflect a direct reflection of your current state of mind. And your cosmology will change and grow. as your current state of mind exists. But if you knew the entire time, here's what you're doing, here's where you're going here, you would feel trapped. And if you came here and there was no way of dying, you would feel trapped. It's not that you're not going to feel trapped, but I'm saying this is the most untrapped you could feel is having the system the way it exists now. So I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you. And yeah, you talk about being absorbed into a greater form. I really liked that today. And you were talking about speaking to a band of organisms, perhaps, and telling them if you allow me to eat you, you will be absorbed into this greater form. We can hold this light for a little longer, and I really appreciate that. And I think about that also in what we see in how we let go of certain things, whether we are willing or ready or not. Uh, it happens to be 7 years ago, like to the day that I quit tobacco, which
Hmm.
was also induced by of what would almost be like a sickness tantamount to a near-death experience. And um, at that, I had needed to quit because of Ira, and Ashley had already done so, and but anyways, this time it makes me and one of the greatest fears for the first time I think I was afraid of death was my grandparents would tell me stories of friends of theirs on their deathbeds. They're like in the hospital
Hmm.
and wanting nothing but a cigarette and a coffee, and and uh, and yet I think we end up letting go of those things to be absorbed into a greater form. Perhaps
Yeah. You
I
know, if you think about if you've ever seen an El Salvador prison, they pack them like butt to nut. They make them get in a line where they scooch each other as close as they can to the next. Marines do the same thing. There's certain organizations out there, whether it be voluntary or involuntary, military or punitive, where humans are packed side by side into an organism, a corporate organism that owns them, and that they feel this corporation owns me. Marine Corps, you feel I belong to the Corps. Corps belongs to me. Corps me. I'm the Corps. I'm. The same with prison. It's a fucking machine. Da, 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 da. What if the way you feel about a family, the way you feel about a corporation, your job, what if you're Cirque du Soleil? You're like, yeah, I'll shave my hair. I'll grow purple shit. What you want me to install some horns? I'll do that. I want to be in Cirque du Soleil. I will change my entire body. In fact, I'm a ballerina. I'm fucking changing my body right now. I haven't eaten. I ate a grape 3 days ago. Look at me, right? So like, what do I'm a football player. Hey, will you stick this needle in my ass? I'm not trying to single them out, but it's like we pleomorph just like your enteric system agreed. I will allow the rib cage to eat me because I will trap more light this way. So too do we allow corporations to eat us so that we will trap more light that way. And that what if all of the paranoia that we have, what if all the uh uh discrimination we have is really a bigotry against pleomorphism? All the status things we freak out about. I mean, trans is just one. Seriously, you could go back to like 1920s and just, what are you doing wearing a flapper dress? Or you can't, why is your hair short? Or, I mean, it's just all these things that we've just had such a massive problem with people changing, with just existing in a different kind of format. Even polygamy kind of fits into this genre of like just like the staunch adherence we have to look, you have to be married this way, you have to have a structure this way, it has to look this way, could be a resistance that we feel to our own pleomorphic nature, a clinging to Baphomet because we are afraid to try and be anything else, anything new, anything different. And this fear is actually the same thing that's driving all the chimeric activity that's getting closer and closer and closer. And the only ones who are going to use that are going to be the ones who aren't afraid of it. Meanwhile, you're going to pleomorphically change into something you fear because you're afraid to say that you're pleomorphic. And this would be the only way that you could teach someone that kind of Mercury. Be the only way that you could send a message to someone that you're pleomorphic, who you knew was abhorrent to pleomorphism, is to inject them with their pleomorphicity, to show them their own fear will point to their own pleomorphicity, our own paranoia, our own ripping of our own skin off. I think about Drome all the time, but he's just like one of like 40. Like, dude's like pulling his skin off like bacon because he cannot handle that there's a voice in his head. It's these same things would be existing now, except for they feel separate from us. So we have this thing called patriotism. We have this thing called loyalty to the company. We have the thing to the bottom dollar or whatever we fucking tell ourselves. It's just a relationship we have to a larger organism that we want to eat us, but we don't want to eat us. We want them to eat us, but we don't want them to eat us, right? So all of this is you eating other things and other things eating you. And this was kind of makes sense that friend would be the base of what the soul would be like. When your understanding is this edible complex, you can build an entire I could build the entire universe off of things eat things, right? You know that. Even chemistry. Isn't that what chemistry does? If you mix two chemicals together, one of them's going to eat the other. They change each other. This is what I meant earlier by look, you being eaten doesn't mean that you're the weakling. You being eaten means you get to change the thing that ate you. This is why I want to taste good. If Quetzalcoatl's going to eat me, I want to be a good berry because I want to change the fuck out of that motherfucker. If that fucker's going to eat me, I'm going to change him. He's going to become me. Do you understand? I don't want him to poop me out. I want to take over his body. I want to become the essence of him. Start making him think about different things, right? This is I think this is the liberation most of us are waiting for when it comes to the purpose of what prey is to simply find all the power it has in being eaten. I think that's more powerful. I think there's probably more power in that, especially if you can taste really good. Now you've created an addiction inside this fucker. These fuckers are addicted to me. They're addicted to me, which means they're going to grow more of me. They're going to seek out more of me. They're going to do whatever they can to make sure there's more of me around and I win. Ha ha. It's like this is not it's not losing to be eaten. This is what I talk about the Wetiko about, man, guys, we are the indigenous. They planted wasps in our parents' back and we grew from them. We are the secret red horns. We're the guys that are sleeper cells because we were eaten. It's what it means to be a seed. This is like deepest, chorus nature kind of lessons, like above anything else. It's just taking you back to that natural lesson, I think, of biology, eating biology. It's a symbiotic relationship. We're just too afraid to admit it, I think. That's all I got, but it's just so much here. It's just such a big topic there.
It's James, thank you so much. And I almost felt a little guilty. James always brings a really good sense of humor on Fridays, and I talking dark, but I think that the with something like darkness or light, that you really appreciate it most in that on the precipice, when it's leaving or when it's gone in the absence. And so I'm really glad that we can have these conversations today. Brad, thank you for raising your hand. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Hey, Cameron, hey guys, how y'all doing? Um, you mentioned in the seed. I'll just start there. Like the way so many plants propagate themselves is their fruits being eaten by birds, and the birds fly all over the place and poop out the seed, and there you go. Right? Is that not just a perfect example of how that works? But to me, it's this whole dig into the psychology and verse Pellis to go back to there to understand human consciousness coming up in relation to the negativity and feeling like trapped in these kind of ways, right? To me, it's just like it's so much easier to understand it in the complex of understanding the steps of what it must feel like along the way, and personally, just out of our own lives, how we've experienced for ourselves, right? So the first time and I'll just use sort of my own experience in life. First time Versapella sort of kicks up, and like James, like you're saying, it's like it's you feel guilty about something, but something come over you, right? It's this kind of aspect of you've done something, and that's your first sort of look at shame. So the most natural thing I can understand for human consciousness would be to say, there's something negative here. There's something that doesn't feel good, and I don't. It scare all these emotions scares me, like you said. So I don't want to take responsibility for it. So it makes sense that the first push is to make this a demon out there, and I think that that's going through all the steps when we mentioned about how Christianity was a development in the psyche and why it happened in Gnosticism, as you were talking today. Like all these things make sense because I took on each of these mindsets along the way. You know what I'm saying? Which again, always have just been voices in your own head, right? That's the first thing you're talking with voices in your own head. But to figure out this world, so coming up through Christianity, first taught that lens. Gnosticism came later. And so in the Gnosticism, when I was into that, it was at the same time I was really into the deep, dark, heavy of this world. And so that's when I was in this world is a trap. It's a prison. And it makes such sense to me because of the fact that when you're in the victim mentality, because I think the Gnostic mentality is still, I'm not trying to be pejorative towards Gnosticism. I think it's great and it's been a step along the way, but it is kind of still in that victim mode mentality of like, something's happening to me here that I don't like, but it's not me. So it has to be something that's not me. Whereas I think kind of as you grow beyond Gnosticism, and I really think it comes down to self-love is the more you start to, because first thing you have to be relaxed enough to be comfortable enough to see the demon, if you will, or within yourself, right? Not to try and put it out there is what I'm saying. The second you stop trying to put it out there and you start trying to take responsibility and say, okay, let me sit with this and figure out what it is. And then you stop trying to externalize it into the world, then it's not as scary anymore because you're identifying with it in you. And so the more you kind of loving yourself and understanding these both sides of yourself, I think the corporation, all these are steps along the way where we don't have an identity. It makes sense that that when we're first dealing with these emotions, we first see this evil, or we first dealing with these negative feelings, we want to identify in a group. We want to identify in a corporation because all this is so scary. But as you've taken more time of self-development and you know yourself, and this is all what it really is, the inner work, if you've taken these steps and you stop, because basically we set the tone for the environment that we're in. And I guess what I'm going to wrap up to say is the fact that I get so much so the steps through it, thinking this is a trap, this is a prison, but that when you get to a certain point of ownership of that, and these are tied to the idea of God, right? If the voice in my head, I'm the one who identifies how I'm personifying it in this whole realm that we're in, right? So if I tell myself that I'm in a prison, and if I tell the demon out there that there's a demon out there who's messing with us all, I am using my own energy to create that situation. And people don't want to accept how much of that is really, the more I fear that demon and the more I think I'm trapped, the more I'm creating that situation. But the second you kind of move past that and you start saying, hey, wait a second, I actually am the power internally, just in my own self, in this place, and you start to play the merry prankster, to have fun with it, right? The whole dynamic to me, and just for me personally, again, shifted to where again, I see what's going on in the world, right? It's impossible not to, but it does not scare me like it does when I think that it's a prison and that people are out to get me and all this kind of way. Now it's much more like just echoing things that we've been talking about. It's a playground, it's a jungle, it's both, but it's not so scary when you've kind of identified the if you will, the demon in here, right? And claimed it. And I do think that's what the integration is about. It's about us making peace with that inner, because like what did you say the friend was anyway? The our inner dragon or our inner reptile, right? But that's the key, is like we want to play this game where we pretend that there's this reptile out there, but it's not in me, and it's all self-love. It's all self-love. It's, can you love your inner reptile? And then guess what? The whole game shifts. And I'll leave it there.
Well, there's two things there. So I think all that's well said. The first point is that imagine trying to tell Hemingway before he writes a novel that, hey man, maybe life isn't so bad. Like he would really hate that. and he'd be like, "Wait, so I can't drink anymore?" Like, what? There's every addiction is a demon, but that demon is an instrument. It's a tool that we use to dismiss ourselves, dismiss ourselves from the responsibility, and this is the second point. The truth is always in the room. If the truth is always in the room, that means that you are going to see yourself no matter how much you try and hide from yourself. So if you have an addiction, and you don't want to cure that addiction, if you can say that you're trapped or that there's a jailer or that someone's doing this to you, you are actually being very honest with yourself. The truth is still in the room. You're taking the portion of yourself that has the power to liberate you, and you are declaring it uncontrollable. You're saying this is a part of myself that is this is actually pretty fucking accurate, isn't it? This is like exactly what's happening. Your agency, think about the collection of all your cellular consciousness as sort of an agency, an Elohim. Every cell has a vote, if you want to look at it that way. And a third of your factions, a third of your agency really enjoys the addictions of alcohol. So a third of your agency would need to bypass the two-thirds of your agency that really does not enjoy the addictions of alcohol, and it would need to splinter itself, live in the same vessel, but splinter itself. And that the splintering of this self would simply just be two different agencies. This is just schizophrenia 101. I'm talking about like base root, all you fuckers are schizophrenic, just like I am. I'm talking about that kind of schizophrenia, just the compartmentalization that you practice every day, just to be able to do simple things, really. So you, if the truth is always in the room, you're always going to see exactly all the power is always going to be there. You just get to put it in a different costume, but it's still going to be in the room. So you're going to need something like demon in the room because it needs to fill the vessel of who you are. You have to go somewhere. So you can't listen to James say there's no demons because you know there's a demon, because there is a demon, because you literally created one, because you needed to create one, because this addiction's too important to you. Here's the rub. Principle of addiction, something people hate. They think it's so dangerous, so I don't even give this lecture anymore. But what if you were to love that demon? What if you were to truly say, hey, body, I think that the fact that I really love alcohol is kind of cool? What starts to happen? You have two chemicals that used to be competing that now have no choice but to like each other again. You're wrapping your arms around the addiction, aren't you? The first thing you're doing is say, addiction, I want you to come home. Let's have a drink. I want you to have this drink for the very first time. You want that. You want that relief to be there. You want that escape to be there. You want that. You want to be conscious of your own escape. And this ruins Hemingway. It ruins him. Dude goes back to selling insurance. He dies. Now, I want you to really put your big power boots on. And I want you to really, really answer this question honestly. If you had a chance to be Hemingway, I'm talking about in your own personal life, and all you had to do was demonize a third of your own self, keep it in a cage long enough for you to produce something that is going to really, really dilate the world for the rest of eternity, what would you do? I think some of you are more immoral than me, and you'd be like, "Well, I'd never do that." I don't think. I think I would. I think I'd be like, I think I'd probably choose this addiction. There's just something sexy about leaving a mark on this world. There's just something about scarring this rock that everyone's going to see for the rest of eternity. And that when people see the scar, they're going to know how much pain it took to actually produce that scar. And they're going to say, hey, humpback whales, they're fucking cool as shit because they're covered in scars. They're like covered in scars. Manatees, they're covered in scars. They're just, it's such a fascinating thing because it's a cellular memory that thinks it should be healed and is not. It's an addiction that's purposely given gold. It's given the circuitry of all technology, all the essence of what you do to hide your addiction from everyone else in your family is the preciousness of placing gold into the cracks of the piece of porcelain that fell, right? And it's been shattered. Your addiction is the filling of gold of all your witness. Your most sacred church creates itself inside that bottle when no one's at home. Th- isn't this why addiction is so hard to beat? Because it's probably the first time people have ever been to church in this world. It's probably the only time, because they've been told church is this dry place where, no, you just take a little sprinkle of water, Cameron, and just put it on your forehead. I'm not going to hold you down and drown you. That's all it takes back then. Even though guys were taking out their own junk and chopping it off on a barrel, this is people are going to love this. We're going to dabble some water on your forehead. That's what we're going to do. It's like, no, you need something just as dilating, if not more. And addiction is one of those things. You asphyxiate the brain, hey, same fucking effect. Now the littlest things are super important. It's what a brilliance. This is brilliance. It's brilliance. It's why it's
That's
such an arbiter of growth. Go ahead.
no, it's very interesting. Before you brought up Hemingway, I was thinking of Socrates as someone who valued his inner demonion or whatever they call it over the will of the people or the state. And he lived in kind of semi-rebellion his whole life until it cost him his death. And yet, with someone like Hemingway and their brilliance that we recognize, his inner demon, we might, I mean, all agree was, his alcoholism, or at least that was the way he found his Versipellis to get out from underneath the yoke of his name and his father and everything.
Yeah,
And,
that's it.
the word, was an escape or maybe, maybe it was an escape. It was also an entombment. I mean, uh, great artists, especially who live during their own greatness, have to deal with many things, including, uh, not being allowed to outgrow their work.
Yeah.
And,
Bukowski's another example of this. I mean, there are many, but it's just there's so many that why would you want to change that? Why would you want to cheer that up? Look how beautiful that sorrowful pit of just misery is. It's just
absolutely,
it's just fucking
yes.
gorgeous, you know?
Yeah, thank goodness for people like that who can alchemize such things. Clinton, thank you for raising your hand. Go ahead. Clinton, did you hear me? Um, you're still muted, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
No. So I just with the with the possession and the addiction, the addiction is just like a weaker form of Versipellis. You know, it's like a not you're not taking your clothes off and pissing on the ground before you lose your shit. It's kind of like giving into the overwhelming aspects of life as opposed to taking the power, you know. So I see like addiction as just a form of possession, whereas you're not taking control of that situation as much as you could, I guess is what I was saying. Um, and I don't even know where I was going with that. I got a little lost. My dog came over here and started rubbing up on my leg.
You could, I mean, feel free to jump in, Clinton, but you could also argue that so most addictions, I don't know of very many addictions that are public. Most of them are private, like the shame one holds or the amount that they have the addiction. Not that can't drink in public, you do, but I think you know what I'm saying. So what if the addiction is actually the seizing of power, the leveling up? It's an internal life level up. It would be the only way that you could have an internal life and feel that you're okay to do that is that you would just, oh, easy, just develop an addiction, be ashamed of it. And you're going to, every day, you're going to have to go when no one's looking. And that's going to be your quiet alone time. But don't worry, we're not giving you this quiet alone time. You're just doing that because you're an addicted piece of shit fuck who's too weak to do anything. That's all. So don't worry. We're it's not like we're giving ourselves alone time here because secretly we want it. No, that's not what's happening. No. What's happening is we're evil fucks. That's it. That's it. This is why I say, what if you leaned into your addiction? What if you gave yourself permission to truly do that? See, I think that's what ruins it all. That's when you're just like, oh,
Right?
wait.
That would be the Buddhist ways. You invite your demons in for tea.
Mhm.
You sit with them. You tell them it's your place. They're welcome here,
Yeah.
but you got to go. You know, it's just like feelings. They're not ours. It's just the clouds passing and whatnot. And so with the addiction, yeah, I do. I see that it's just kind of like an unconscious dealing.
Mhm.
Whereas like that Versapellis, it's like, okay, I got to turn now so I can handle this business. It's a little
Mhm.
more, I guess, conscious way of dealing with the dark side of things, I guess, like
Yeah.
because we all are addicted to something. Um, and like you said, they are private, like pills are probably the worst one because that's not a social thing, right? People can
Mhm.
go out and get drunk and have dinner. People will smoke and have a great conversation, but a lot of people, the heavier addictions are the ones that are, a secret. They're
Yeah.
not, they're not
Yeah.
really doing anyone any
Yeah.
good. Like you're saying, you're just this piece of shit in your own. You're hearing the demons in your head instead of being positive about it, I
Yeah, this
guess.
is the only boundary you can build. You create privacy around you being a piece of shit. So why would anyone want to mess with you? Because you're a piece of shit. So you instantly create solitude. That's the first element, solitude.
Yep. It goes right back to what Brad was saying. It's self-love, and
Yeah.
once we can love ourselves enough to know that we are the environment, because
Yeah.
clearly
And I
being a
remind you
billionaire does
guys,
not make you love yourself.
yeah, I remind you guys that that word was worthless. One who is not yoked is worthless. So the dawning of worth is the dawning of yoke. And so you there's a the darkness has a freedom of worthlessness. There's a safety mechanism there. You would be less prone to anyone seeking value in that place. It just makes sense. See, I think about this all the time, and I wonder if more people were to put thoughts into their own shame as being a positive uh, illumination on these other parts of themselves, because you really do notice those. It's awfully convenient that things we're ashamed of also give us privacy. And a lot of us have really hard times saying no, establishing boundaries, establishing perimeters. And one way you wouldn't need a perimeter if you just felt like shit. If you just felt awful. There's your perimeter. You don't have to try hard because it's already there. And these manifest more than we can admit. We've never even had this conversation, I think, like collectively. No one's ever had this conversation that there's a convenience to all this. And it's a sign of power, actually. And look at me. I'm literally telling the addict, man, you're doing great. Look at you fucking sneaking away doing this. Like, I'm proud of you. Let's talk
Because
about
it's a
things.
form of alchemy. You're not doing the work. You're not consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
If you were taking notes and had that value of self, you wouldn't be so ashamed of your failure, your favorite. That's how you get back up,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
If we
Yep.
all could admit our little defeats, we can make progress.
This is why I say I think that if you could drink in the light, if you could do your addiction in the light, the only key that you need is to say, why can't I deserve this? Why don't I deserve this. I'm going to do this, and I want to. I deserve it. I'm allowed to. I'm not doing it for any other reason. I'm not doing it because I'm broken. I'm doing it because I have
Right.
entitlement. I'm doing it because I'm worth more. It's a matter of, can I hold how much I'm worth? Can I truly hold that I'm worthy of this? And honestly, this will be a good excuse to overindulge, to gluttonize yourself. If you don't feel worthy of that, you would try it, and then you would purposely make it into something that destroys you. I have the same issue with
Right.
justice. The same issue. I grew up without justice. I mean, I'm not saying I had more than others, but I grew up without justice, and I learned a long time ago the second that I expect justice is the second that I feel like shit because someone can take it away, and then I will feel entitled to it. Then I'll feel insisting. But if I go into the world where I will never have justice, it will never fucking show up. I'm never put in a position where I feel that way again. Never fucking happens. It's a fascinating mind game that we play. I get why I do this. And even though I'm ashamed of myself, because I think I probably could have fixed my driveway if I would have called the insurance company right after the storm and been like, hey, all this fucking trees fell down and ripped out my driveway, da 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 da. I know the reason why I didn't call them was because I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I'm expecting someone to treat me fair again. Because fuck, that hurts. I'd rather just not be in a position to ever expect anyone to treat me fair. And it feels good. Like, I'm proud of myself for thinking that way. Technically, it hurt myself. Technically, I'm irresponsible. Technically, if you were married to me, you'd be like, you dumb fuck, why didn't you do this? Or my brother's like, you dumbass, why didn't you do this? Or everyone else. But it's like, because I grew up without justice and I'm smart as fuck. That's why I did that. Because I'm a fucking genius. That's why I fucking did that. And so you see how I hurt myself through my own genius. It's my own fucking genius that did that. And you know what? I still prefer it this way because I'm imagining myself going, well, what do you mean you won't pay for this? You said you'd pay for this and you said you'd do that. And look at all the money I've given you for insurance over the years and you're not going to blah, blah, blah. I would be miserable. At least right now I get to look at it and go, how the fuck am I going to fix that? I don't know. But I'm not
You
fucking
saved
haunted.
infinite calories by doing it your way.
I'm not haunted by a promise. I'm not haunted by some magical justice organization where everything's fair. Fuck you, man. It's not fair. You see, this is the power of my creativity, hurting myself to protect myself, and I'm proud of that scar. I want this scar. I want this scar in me because fuck, I grew up this way. It's
That's where
not
real strength
healthy.
comes from. That's real strength, is it not? I
Yeah.
mean,
It's real identity. You know, it's probably
okay,
real identity,
that
Brad.
real identity.
Yeah,
Okay,
and that's
I get
strength.
that.
But you get what I'm saying. I'm just saying,
Yeah,
technically, the stronger thing would be no, you call the fucking insurance company. You just fucking call them, and
But these are scars on they're
but
scars on the
that's giving,
whale.
but that's expecting again something else in the environment to do it for you. And then just going back to the point that you brought up Clinton at first, and I'll shut up, get out of Deb's way. But that's just it. Trying not to fall down is not really. That's kind of what I was saying. Is about trying. It's the real toughness comes, I guess, when you're no longer afraid to fall down because you just know you'll get back up because you've gotten back up so many times. That's the real power, not never falling down. And that's why I like the whole idea of being in a fallen state also in the psychological way that kind of bugs people. I'm like, that's just it. It's like I'm just repeating myself, but again, it's just the ability that you get back up. That's like the dojo on the mat, right? That's why I'm not afraid to step on the dojo, and now why I want a worthy opponent who can land a punch because I know I'm going to get my ass back up, and each time I do, I'm stronger because I've just learned more. Sorry, Deb, go ahead.
Right, you can only go up from the bottom too. You can only go up.
I have an example for your argument. I've been thinking about this all the time lately because my nervous system is out of control. And I mean, I loved alcohol. I'm like so smart and charming, and it's like everybody loves me on alcohol, but my body alchemizes it differently. And it makes me do stuff like inject cocaine. It just, I can't handle it at all. And right now, like, everything sucks. I am having a really hard time with regulating. So, and I keep thinking, oh man. Well, the first thing I want is a cigarette because I'm much more addicted to that than I was to alcohol. Nicotine was harder, but yeah, I'm thinking about it all the time. But it would kill me. I know it would. It would fucking wipe me out. I might feel better for 5 minutes, and then I would probably fall down the freaking stairs or something because I have no equilibrium right now. And it would just like, so the shame of knowing what would happen, knowing how freaking shitty I would feel afterwards for the minor amount of relief, and realizing that it's just about brain chemicals. I'm trying to do something creative with my brain, and how else can I do that? Which I think is kind of what James was talking about in how I can apply it. And I just wanted to check in with you guys and be real. I'm having a really fucking hard time.
a hard time with
Nancy,
your nerves, and it's good to hear from you. You
Nancy has a beam of light coming down
go
over
ahead,
her
Clem.
shoulder. I just need to say that the beam has a beam.
We're having some technical issues. People are coming in and out. I'm assuming you can hear me. I at least want to say that
I
I
can hear
think
you.
I think quitting smoking is harder because it's the only exercise we have where you can actually see your breath. You can see yourself breathing. And there's a real power in you saying, I'm going to stop what I'm doing and go smoke a cigarette, because you're saying, I'm going to stop and take a breath. And I'm going to go be conscious of the breath that I'm taking. And the nicotine is always alongside the conscious ritual of breathing. And the nicotine is highly addictive. So it becomes very hard to not associate the two things with each other. The introduction of nicotine in your system and the fact that you're consciously taking a moment to breathe. The only way that I could solve smoking, it was seriously fucking hard. It was day 10. I wasn't gonna make it. I just didn't want to be around anymore. I didn't want to be around anymore where you couldn't do stuff like that. I in my mind I pictured I have to be miserable and be okay with it. I That's what it is. I have to do that. And the shaman in me was like, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to do that. So what do we do? And I was out for a walk because that's all I could do was just exercise. Exercise is really powerful, especially when you're trying to quit smoking, but because you're breathing. And I told myself I'm just gonna be a smoker. I'm gonna climb up to the top of the ski hill though first, because I was already out. I was like, that's what I'll do. I'm gonna earn this. I'm gonna earn the ability to be a smoker again. And so I started to walk up the like 1,500 feet of vertical elevation, and I was happy. I hadn't smoked a cigarette yet. I was happy because I knew all I had to do was climb the top of the mountain. I was going to come back down and I was going to smoke a cigarette. Deb, I was so happy. I was so fulfilled. I was enjoying the fuck out of the walk. I felt alive again. I still hadn't smoked a cigarette yet. I didn't smoke a cigarette. I had an integration. I took the agency that felt that I wasn't worthy of taking breaths, and I said, I am you. For the first time on day 10, I said, wait, I am you. Hey, sorry, I was trying to kick you out. Can you move back in, please? I am you. You are me. Here's the boombox. I've parked out above your house. I'm just, just like anyway. I get to the top of the mountain. I'm walking back home. Of course, you're walking downhill. It's the favorite part of the walk. You're just like, this is fucking amazing. I was picturing in my head, I'm gonna brew some coffee. I'm gonna fucking God, I could drink some coffee and smoke it. I was so excited. I was probably crying. I was so excited. And I get home and I'm like, well, let's brew some coffee. Let's gotta have that. And I was brewing the coffee. Then the phone rings. I'm talking to somebody for a while because I've already taken a breath. I'm already home. I'm already there. The cigarette's right there. I don't need it right now. I'm getting ready to do it. I'm going to do it after this phone call. But right now I'm so high on endorphins anyway because of the walk. This feels great. You're just high as fuck. And you're high as fuck because all your agencies have been satisfied. I still haven't had nicotine, Deb. I still haven't had nicotine. I realizing I'm making this story long. I I never I just never smoked that cigarette. For like 2 years, the pack of cigarettes stayed in my cabinet. And in my mind, it was always there. And it was just always yes. The answer was always yes. Even though I didn't do it, the answer was always yes. So I think there's something to that. I think there's something to that because I didn't need to smoke a cigarette. I felt better the moment I said that was me. I'm the person that does feel really good when I'm consciously breathing like that. When I'm stopping what I'm doing and I'm going to take a breath, you know, I'm going to do that. It's the same thing like naps. Some of you guys have found the power of naps. You're just like, it's 3 o'clock. I'm going to fucking take a nap. And you're just like, you're a whole other fucking person. It's like a whole other life comes out when you do that. And it's not the sleeping, it's the meditating. You know that. It's the giving yourself permission to say, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to do that for a while. And when you're laying there, you're just like, fuck, this feels good. Everything feels good. I haven't smoked a cigarette yet because I know I'm getting ready to. And fuck, it feels so good. It feels great. You know, this is how you win your addictions. You say yes to yourself. You say yes to the part of you that's addicted because you say, you deserve that. You deserve to feel that way. And then the math does itself. You know, I know what abusing food and drugs and all the other things do to me, and hopefully I'll have enough energy. Last night I had too many tater tots. I'm just like freaking hurting right now. I'm hurting because I need breakfast. But if I have breakfast before the show, I burp when I talk, and I don't want to like friend everyone out or Pythagoras everyone or whatever. So it's like normally I can make it. I have no problem. I don't need to eat, but it's because I eat tater tots at night and some fucked up shit. It's the same addiction. It's the exact same thing. It's
James, since you bring up belching, which you said was Saint Augustine, who thought it was a good thing, right? That meant the light was properly digested. You've been talking about Manichaeism or Manichaeism. That was the popular school when Saint Augustine was, I think, around. He would almost, I think, some of his work, like in the Confessions, he would talk about it and naysay it. Uh, and yet, I think, as you talked about with well, I only brought Augustine up because we're talking about inner landscapes, and because Brad talked about the birds spreading the seeds, and Augustine is popularly kind of given credit for bringing to the written word the theme of the inner landscape, uh, and yet I think that I doubt that, but I mean it could be he was obviously a very loved writer, but it gets into this dualism and these branchings and to where it becomes an inner life and an outer life. I definitely think like cigarettes for me were definitely a way to carve out an inner life and it was a necessity. I mean, my inner life started carving its way out for I think reasons similar to like most people in this room and James. Just that happens over time when you face challenges and injustice in life or an inner life starts to carve its way out. And I think giving up cigarettes is like, I mean, Brad is confident, that he's going to get back up. Deborah, sounds less confident in her ability. She's, to get back up after a fall down. Um, and I think when we divorce ourselves from those things like cigarettes, it is like uh, you a whole inner life that you created is going to atrophy and fall off, and yet be absorbed maybe into a greater form. You talked about exercise being a form. That's been something very important to me magically and alchemically. Realizing that I can feed the same addictive potential with intense intensive breath work and intention, in breaths and counting, which is mundane and like the most boring, like it can, and yet just like churning out numbers, over time, it has, you can do things with form, that, like are, forms that you might even consider greater or, although they don't have any practical application, but, uh, that's a valid point, Brad. Thank you for keeping your hand raised. And I wanted to really tie everything. I think thematically, everything's been great all week, and everything the group's been doing. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, Brad. Go ahead.
No, no, definitely keep. I love it rolling there, Cameron. It's funny. My first job it was a movie theater, and of the jobs there was ticket, there was the clerk, whichever, to clean the theater, and then there's concession and projecting. Concession was the worst. So of course nobody wanted to be stuck in concession because of the lack of freedom therein, right? the box had the shows that came in, and once the once the series of shows came in, typically people didn't come to the box, so they had a lot of free time that they could do. Ushers the same cleaning, but concession always had to be on ready and anyway. So the funny thing is, you had the right to the cigarette breaks, right? Well, my first job, when they were going out for cigarette breaks, I'd take that break too. My manager come out one time and saw me and a couple others. We weren't smoking. We were just hanging out there on break. But he said, "Y'all can't be out here. You're not smoking." I said, "What?" So funny how you mentioned that about it being a breath, James. Because so I did, me and those friends, we all took up smoking just so we could take the breaks, right? So that was funny, sort of at the introduction, because it was just such a weird sort of thing that if you have this vice, if you want to call it a vice, if you have this vice, you get a break. If you don't get a break, and it's just such a wild thing. So it's so funny that you mentioned that, James, like giving yourself permission, because I truly think that there's something to it about it too with the taboos. I think there's a reason, for example, alcoholic the consumption of alcohol is a higher percentage maybe here than some other countries, and same with some other illicit drugs, and I think a lot of it does have to do with the taboo nature of it, whereas like because of the permission thing, right? Because when you give yourself permission, and I see this with kids, I saw it myself, we all know this. You tell a kid not to touch something, oh my God, why not? Why not? I wasn't even thinking about it before, but you told me not to touch it. Now that's all I can think about. So I think that's a really powerful part of the giving yourself permission, and that's I think it ties all back to when we're dealing with the heavy things in the world and the quote unquote evil of the world. If you're in that mentality of that should not exist, you're in a situation of stress and you're focusing on it, right? In that same sort of way. Whereas if you're like, you give it permission to exist, it de-energizes it in a certain way, does it not? I mean, and I just thought it was very interesting when we talk about addictions like that. So
Yeah,
I've,
and
I've
if you think about furniture, if you think about how all architecture made out of cells is going to be full of demons, cellular memories, urges, what the cell is, then really all this is about is reclaiming cells. You're just every addiction is, hey, cell, I'm sending you out to make me feel good. I need you to disassociate from me. I'm going to pretend like I don't know you when I see you, but your job is to smoke cigarettes. That's an agency of you that you've assigned to do this. The agency it comes up and goes, it's time for smoke clock, y'all. Let's go, and it slips into the executive branch. The executive branch goes, oh, I recognize you. You're me. Oh, wow, you've got this special chip. What does this say? I smoke cigarettes whenever I want. It's like, well, damn, checks out. You're me. So I'll let you go. So the Versapellus comes in, takes over, says, we got to do this now. It's no different than saying, I need to digest this food, or I need to generate some saliva, or I came here because I need more sympathetic. We're doing some exercise or whatever. So we're already set as a corporation. Guys, I'm sorry, but you're a corporation. You're a corporation that has privileges, and different privileges have different departments, and different departments come in, and there's a cleaning system that runs at night. They're in charge of the whole place. There's dude that has keys to the building that you never see every day. Cleans your toilet. Like touches the most intimate, the glasses that you drink water from. That dude puts those back, and that's you. You have no idea what his name is. Right? So it's if we could get over this singularity, it I really mean this. It could be such a fundamental change to consciousness itself if you could somehow start to see yourself in stereo, and then in trio, I'm pretending like that's 3, and then in quadraphonic, and then in Dolby surround, and then in 5.1. What if this is us slowly learning to see through our siren instrument, like through a true pleomorphic, just all of your demons at once? It could be that the word demon is the only word that we have in the language that gets us to this other side of understanding this kind of psyche. Does this make sense? Like, And I swear to you guys, I've seen this before. Yeah, but that word's scary. I'm like, guys, this is actually how I think it's true. Whenever I see a scary word, I swear to fuck, right behind that scary word is this giant eclair. It's like a really good chocolate eclair. It's just like hiding behind this scary word. It's like it's right there. It's right there. And I've never seen one of these eclairs where it hasn't been hiding behind a scary word. I think they're related. Which means I'm like, let's worship evil. I get that you're afraid because I'm always saying that, but fuck, how many times has this not been the case? Here's a picture. Here's a picture. Here's a picture. See all these snapshots? Look at all these eclairs. Nothing but demon horns and fucking fire and brimstone and eclairs. They're all related. We should recognize this pattern going forward.
James, I really like the idea of that's been something akin to what my personal strategy has been, is trying to embrace both sides, seeking ambivalence as like a good thing, which I think of as a balance of both sides, because I have not figured out a way uh, to even stand without the status of dualism. Like it's just been so embedded in my genetics that even like without that dualism, because like you said, we are the ladder in between, or the space in between that, and so I really appreciate you talking about an eclair being behind that scary word, even though sometimes I almost feel like I want to do better. Like I like the Trinity, which we've discussed. I don't want to get into that. Except for that, we've discussed how that's not in the Bible, and yet it's such an important part of like the Catholic incorporation. Um, and I'm so sorry, Nancy. I really wanted to get you before I went into that little tangent. But thank you for keeping your hand raised. And go ahead.
I like when you share, Kim. You say a lot of really good stuff. So, hi everybody. It's good to see everybody. I raised my hand because I wanted. I can't see real well because I'm outside. Is Dark Bloom here? I don't know if she's there. If she's not here, I wanted to thank her. She brought up our antenna, our hair, a couple weeks ago or a couple dojos ago. And Brad, when you were talking about permission, well, she sparked something in me which I really enjoyed sitting with, and that was I gave myself permission, Brad. Thank you for saying that word, to embrace losing my hair when I went through chemo. And I'm really proud of myself. It's like I can really feel proud of myself now, which is like huge. And what I did was I used my mind, my imagination. I kind of felt into, gee, how am I going to feel? And just all of that. And but it actually became liberating. I was so liberated to lose my hair. There's a lot there. I know I'm not going to be able to articulate it because I'm still sitting with it. But if it hadn't been, and I know I say this a lot, but it's just true, you guys. If I hadn't been in the dojo years ago, I wouldn't have known to do that. I would have probably embraced, oh my God, just this like horrible thing. And it wasn't. I mean, yes, it was. I don't even want to say it was scary. It was. I'm growing. It was like, oh, I can embrace something that I've not experienced before. So I do have like this childlike curiosity, which that's growing more and more as I get less afraid of my demons. And really, guys, our demons aren't demons. They're just us, and we're just figuring out that. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry, it was really off, but it just turned into this beautiful. I got to see myself in such a different perspective, and I actually have a really cute head. I have a petite head. I did go through the process of looking at wigs and stuff, and nothing fit because I had this cute little head. And my hair, it was so funny when your hair gets to a certain length, everybody wants to touch your head. Everybody wants to like rub your head, and I didn't mind it because I see it as we're always exchanging, right? We're always doing this beautiful exchange, whether we like it or don't like it, or it feels crappy or it feels great. It's just to embrace everything. It's just, I'm finding is the way to go. And thank you, James, because I wouldn't have known. I mean, and I also know that finding you, or, tuning into you, it was not an accident. It was, part of what we, yeah, nothing's by accident, really. So I love you guys. And I have been feeling like just embracing everything. And it has been transforming my life. And James, the whole cell thing, it is so real. When I choose, either if it's just sitting by myself or laying down, I am not kidding you, my body gets this little excitement now, like, oh, we're going to like go inside. And the experiences I'm having are so, I mean, they're just always, I don't know if they're down, I don't know what they are, but they're just these beautiful emotions, thoughts, whatever comes in. And some of them give me goosebumps, some of them give me a release of something. And I know I just covered a lot there. I just thank you, everybody. And I love you.
Thank you,
I'm
Nancy.
myself in a good way. I'm laughing because I'm enjoying how I don't finish sentences. And what's so cool is I know you guys get it. We just can get this energy without having to, I don't put, explain it all. Do you know what I mean? We have to explain everything anyway. That's another rant.
Isn't it crazy, Nancy, how much of a mixed bag liberty has proven to be? I mean, I feel like my whole life we were raised to imagine liberty, or I have, I've always thought that was the ultimate, and yet you speak to, some of what all you have to deal with in the fear of being liberated, as we've been discussing, an unyoked. And I may be jumping off. It might seem like I'm jumping off because we're talking about certain items, but I mean, uh, something that's unyoked is considered worthless. We have positive words for worthlessness, invaluability, but I think that might be, anyways. I just, Nancy, and I'm so pleased to hear that your work is so transformational in such a blissful way, and I thank you for always bringing that to the group. I know that you deal with so much. I know how much you work through and with your just beautiful capacity for passion, and I really appreciate that you always bring so much positivity, and it's really helpful, and it balances out some of what I do, and thank you for that, Nancy. And I really do get. I feel like I get you, but I don't want to sound like I uh, and yet everything that I get from you, it's always it grows daily. And thank you for that, for sharing. Mary Jo, thank you for raising your hand. Go ahead.
Hello. There's so much you guys are talking about here that it's awesome. But speaking of chemo, like Nancy mentioned chemo, I it was um it kind of like does something, obviously it does something to your whole body, but like something happened to my language system or my language center in my brain, and it made it really hard to like talk to people. And so it's embarrassing, but like what I started doing was I just started accepting that it's like that, and that and when I relaxed, I realized nobody was expecting me to be like have a certain amount of words, you know? Like I'm glad that now I can just not finish sentences, um or just not really say as much, like, and like I guess I just thought, it was so powerful to like be able to speak a certain way, and now it's like embrace the freedom of not feeling like I have to do that. But anyway, I just wanted to say that. And the second thing was I was going to ask you guys if you ever experience stuff like this, like speaking of like the schizophrenic nature of realizing that about yourself. But if I were going to describe it sometimes, like I know that it's all me. I don't think, like, I don't really feel like the paranoia of something trying to like tell me something. But I do often experience, like, I'm certain when something feels angelic, like my whole body just feels it. And it's like, oh my gosh. And it's like this beautiful experience of a clarity. And then there's also like some of the feelings, or I don't know, call them messages, is like from the demonic realm. But like that doesn't mean they're evil, but you know that it's, you just like pick up on something, you know, like that that is not angelic. And oh shoot, I hope I can remember what I was gonna say. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, I just I don't know. I wondered if you guys differentiate or feel like you get messages, even though you might know it's from yourself, or you might feel like it's a shared synchronicity, but all of these feelings have different flavors. And I feel like it's part of the consciousness developing.
Yeah, I don't want to try and put a label on you, but I want you to know that this is actually much more general. But we only give it to schizophrenia. We only say that schizophrenics feel uh, angelic thoughts or demonic thoughts, and I think this is part of an awareness of the pleomorphism of the different agencies, that one is simply in tune with all the different agency, the different demons that are living inside of one's spirits. And there's a certain degree that we can be aware of them, and a certain degree that we can't be aware of them. And this is really has to do with our aperture, I think, with how comfortable we are with these things. You could argue that something that feels super angelic or something that feels super demonic are both disassociations, because you're saying this feels like it came from an angelic realm rather than my realm. But this disassociation is you. So it's both, right? It's the disassociation, but you're finding parts of yourself that you just haven't been able to claim yet before, or it doesn't serve you to claim them right now. It
It's
doesn't
like,
serve you to do that, right?
right, because I like that differentiation,
Yes.
you
Yes,
know.
there's it's a different kind of rigging. One's not better than the other. It might be less popular, and it might be harder to survive in society because society has a very centralized way that everyone needs to rig their boat. And if you're not rigged that way, you're not going to have that. But meanwhile, you still are a self. The truth is still in the room. So you just simply disassociate from these things. I'm not even saying that disassociation is bad. My worry is that if we keep disassociating, at what point do we forget that this was us? And I hate to bring this back, but this is just where it brings back. In my mind, this is what a tumor is. A tumor is an associated agency that doesn't know it's part of a collective other self.
What wasn't that also, James, your term for Hades being forgetting in the Black Eye Club? Because I thought that was brilliant.
Yes. Yeah, because it's there's so many. Part of I think why we groom is to hopefully at some point touch every part of our body. Part of why we have itches and ticks could
Mhm.
be to constantly be pulling your witness back into your body to say, hey, your elbow belongs to you too. And how do I know that? Because I just scratched my head. I just scratched my elbow. Sorry, I saw Brad scratching his head right as I said that. Ryzen said that. Brad's like, yeah, but I mean, on my scalp. I'm scalp. I've been disassociated this whole time. And so we're constantly, all the animals do this.
Mhm.
And all the animals are constantly reevaluating their spatial temporal awareness. This is something the body has to do. I have to know where I am and how far away I am and have I grown overnight? Oh my God, I'm a half inch taller, things like that. So the body's constantly having to reevaluate and re recognize itself. But if you are splintering, and we all are, so forget the if. When you notice that you're splintering, can you notice how many times you've unsplintered from something that belongs to you? Is this truly what a tumor is? The only reason why I say that I think that's what a tumor is because that's what Michael Evans said. He didn't say that, but Michael talked about the association. You could cellularly tune something, right? You can carve a goose egg
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes two goose eggs because it was separated and the cellular memory kicked in and thought I'm a separate entity from this. So how do we tap into our cellular memory? I think smoking. I
Mm-hmm.
think having naps. I think that when we are drinking, we are tapping into a different part of our agency that's there. And
Mm-hmm.
can we bring that back? Can we go to that realm? Can we walk into the bar and say, hey, hi, you got to come home. Lois misses you, or no, Andy Cap. Sorry, it's like you got to go find that individual and bring them back, or you got to go move in with them. This is what water does. All these little droplets, they become one. All they got to do is touch each other. All they got to do is experience each other. Then it's so the integration is automatic. This is not about you've forgotten how to integrate. No, it's you just haven't seen yourself yet. That's all. All you got to do is see. All you got to do
Mm-hmm.
is see it and go, look at this. This is a shape that feels like there's something here that's not me. How do I integrate that again? My only thought was to have evasive surgery where they pull the skin off my face because no one else told me, hey, have you thought about maybe this tumor in your face, James? We could integrate somehow. No one fucking said that to me. They said we got to get in there and cut that shit out. We are in the most primitive caveman fucking times we can ever imagine. You have no idea how caveman fucking just base we are when it comes to not understanding how these things work yet. And I think it has to do with this fear. And I think all the cultural changes that you see are a urge that wants to come out and a social pressure that says don't you dare try and say that you're pleomorphic. Cannot have a bunch of chimeras wandering around the streets with jobs. We can't fucking do that. Everyone needs to be human, right? It can't have no dragons. We're afraid of dragons. That's the fear of chimera. Can you see this?
Yes.
Like it's so mythological that it has to be true, or at least it feels that way.
Yes.
Do you
Thank you.
think those like the demonic and angelic thoughts? It's like a reminder that, that's something we're entered into. So I feel like maybe if you take all the judgment out of it, it's just it's you trying to get back to that childlike play. If that makes any sense. You're not being guided. Oh my gosh, Annie,
Yeah.
hello.
Oh, yeah. Like, I don't know that I have judgment about it. It's more like the angelic stuff feels like a clarity, you know, like, oh, there's a clarity. And then the demonic stuff feels like, there's shadows in there. And that can be the problem because you're like, well, okay, so I'm gonna have tea with this demon or whatever. And then it's just an experience of feeling into that and seeing what kind of shadows and trauma happened so that it does feel that way, you know.
When you were
I
asking
like
if
it.
we could differentiate, I was wondering differentiate between perhaps first I thought inner and outer, which I typically can, or may call outer real and inner unreal, or I don't prescribe to that, but when I was a kid, and interestingly, for the last 7 years ago when I got a fever, this time uh, I get put into states, and a handful of times when I was a child where I was what you might call like hallucinating, like where you would be dealing with audible phenomenon and visual phenomenon, like overlaying my wakeful state, like and it would always start with like my appendages going to sleep. My appendages would feel swollen and out of proportion, growing in my body, and then I would wake up. And when I was a kid, it was narratives like being in the jungle in war, which, you know, I mean, I could have been derived from cinema, you know. These days, it's more like I'll sit with sentences that are of little importance to my wakeful or homeostatic self, but I'll just in my mind be like restructuring and restructuring and restructuring, and to no avail. I feel like that was I feel like that's though in those states I have a hard time differentiating between my inner self and my outer state.
Usually, if you keep thinking something, that's just a message. And it'll be like, well, why didn't I know? It's, well, because you're overthinking it, maybe.
Certainly, certainly, and if a thing can be overthought in those, especially for my homeostatic self to try to parse what the work was for, uh, when I'm trying to parse it in material with a material sense, it's hard to do anything other than say it appears to be of little importance now, uh, and yet I know that's not the case. And Lauren, I'm so glad you raised your hand. I caught last dojo, and I'm glad to hear from you. How are you today?
Hey, Cameron. Hey, everybody. I'm doing good. Happy Friday. I just wanted to say when we lean into our addictions and our perceived dark side, and when we embrace those parts of ourselves, we're beginning to play with the art of transmutation. At least that's what I think. And we become dissatisfied with our actions of a lower carnal nature. Seems like our inner magi begins to stir, and we find ourselves on the road to occult mastership. It gives us a chance to play with these energies. We become in control of our prana, and we can exchange things from one state to another. And we really are that living ladder from one state to another, from higher to lower. And yeah, I just wanted to say hi to everybody and I hope you have a good weekend.
We have a good weekend also, Lauren. Thank you so much for adding your insight and to this. Yeah, it's some important topic that I really appreciate hearing the
Lauren,
wisdom.
are you feeling all good? Is everything recovery going okay?
I'm pretty good. I honestly I think I'm still a little bit hungover from all the anesthetic. So I think it's probably going to take a week or two to get
Yeah.
back to normal, to integrate all of my energy bodies back into one. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty scattered, but I'm feeling good though, and I appreciate all the well wishes. It really helped out a lot.
Good. Good. It occurred to me that occurred, all that went down St. Patrick's Day with a giant meteor. And
I
I was
know.
doing some math going,
I think I did
I
that.
think
I think
Lauren
I
did
pulled
that.
that in. I
I don't
I
mean this
know.
as a joke. I've had events like this in my own life where things like I really think there's something to that.
I think that there was so much emotion and buildup that, perhaps I created a little bit of gravity.
Yep. So let everyone here know if you want to summon a 7-ton meteorite, it's only 6 feet tall. You can do it. You just gotta focus.
Anything is possible, guys. It's a magical world.
Right on.
You
Anyway,
just got to
love
know
you
a ginger.
guys. Exactly.
I see your hands raised. I think you're next. Go ahead.
I was just realizing that I'm passing over my locus of control to my nervous system instead of realizing that I do magic all the time by being this chimera with, a weird body that does, weird things. And I don't know, I often feel like a freak and I don't think like other people. And you know what? I'm not using it as my I'm not using it to fuel my power to change my nervous system. Um, I seriously have healed a lot of the things that were wrong with my body with Kundalini. It happened automatically. It was like a miracle. I didn't do it. But this is one is really challenging. But I don't know. I mean, the pleomorphic thing, it's made me realize I mean, do the chimera thing with that too, and change it. I don't know why I thought it was, it was the thing that was finally going to get me, but giving it too much power. So thank you. I really feel like I can change that now.
Yeah, so I don't want to say that this is how it works, but I also don't want you to think that it has to be something super hard. There is a cellular memory that each of your cells hold that remembers, here's the state that I healed myself back to, and labs have shown that basically there's only two imprints. There's that which you are and that which you used to be, and that every cell has the ability to return to that which they used to be. In other words, it gets to declare itself, I am not who I'm supposed to be. This is what the cell does. And it would need two cellular memories to do this, would it not? It would need a memorized state, the flatworm. The planarians do this. A planarian can grow with two heads. All it needs is the memory that it's a two-headed planarian. And the planarian can heal from having two heads. All it needs to do is remember that my true state is to have only one head and a tail. And that I've just shown you the way to move in and out of dis-ease. Dis-ease is simply the framework that you use to accent your cellular memory, isn't it? So how do you change every Osiris cell at once? How do you tell every cell what it's doing? I have a theory. If every cell is hallucinating, every cell has a cosmology. The only way you're going to be able to talk to every cell is you're going to have to be that cell's God. You're the only one qualified. You're this entity that's outside of these cells, but still somehow occupies these cells. You're inside and outside of the world. And how does God talk to a cell? This is tricky because God's never said, hey, here's the deal, or don't do that, or don't do this. There's things are telling me that, but it's never been this direct voice of God. And if we're learning how to heal to become pleomorphic, we are learning the science of God trying to communicate with us, and his only tongue is silence. I swear to you, this is what's happening right now. And as above, so below, you are within the system and outside the system. And just like you have trouble thinking that God isn't hearing you, imagine how the fuck God feels now. For the first time, you get to imagine how the fuck God feels when you're constantly saying you don't exist, or that you don't care about me, or that you'd never consider me important enough. When the whole time God's like, how do I reach these hamsters? How do I reach all the hamsters? And the hamsters don't even know what the fuck you're saying. This is good things to think about, because I in my opinion, this is how the placebo works. You compassionate the breach. For the first time, you compassionate the breach. You picture the breach. You picture how far it is. You picture the, no wonder no one's fucking trying. That's what you do. You picture that. You're like, no wonder. Who the fuck would try this? Look at this giant, what is this, Grand Canyon? Giant chasm separating us. What do I have? Then you just start to think about it. And the entire natural world's been telling you the answers the whole time. It's been yelling at you the whole time about how faith is this broken bridge, and you can only build it through what? Fucking faith. Oh my God. And you start to realize, wait a minute, I get faith all day long. That's all I do is faith. Yeah, I know. You've been doing that since you were born. You use faith. So you have the ability to communicate just as the hamsters pray to God. God prays to the hamsters too. have you prayed to your cells? Have you prayed to your cells? Have you ever said, "Dear God," and looked down and said, "No, I'm talking to you, God. I'm talking to you, toes." It could be, I think it would have to be this easy. And the reason why I think it would have to be this easy is because we were more pleomorphic when we were living in pond scum than we are now, which means that none of this requires advanced intelligence. You don't have to have a degree to become pleomorphic. This is a pond scum kind of gnosis. This is a as the most the easiest instrument to move in your body is called urge. It's a muscle. And your urges enact your cosmology. It has entitlement, it has blessedness, it has divinity, it has salvation, it has all those things are planted into an urge. So really all you really have to do is have a conversation with your body. And the first thing you do is you need to find all of your body. You need to find every single cell. We did this briefly on Saturday, but I felt like maybe I was boring you guys, so I stopped. But you can visualize a cellular scanner that is touching every cell in your body. You're using the power of creativity to find and touch every piece of you. And it's a tangible holographic medicine. I use this word on purpose. It's a holographic medicine. When I had my tumor out, I walked to the same top of the mountain where I quit smoking and I built a circle of rocks and I took off my clothes. It was really cold. It was out in the middle of nowhere. There's no trees anywhere, but it was on the ski slope. So, and it was very embarrassing. I felt exposed. It wasn't like one of these, oh, God, I'm having a no, it was like, I was crying and begging because I really wanted to live. I wanted to keep living. I wanted to talk to my tumor, to everything that was about to happen to me, to everything that was happening to me. And there's only a few times where I've done that. And those few times when you do those things, you open this sacred door because you only do it a few times, but then you start to realize it doesn't really need all this pomp and circumstance. You don't need all this fancy shit. You don't need to wait for the crossing of Jupiter. I mean, if you want to do that, great, but it's none of this is necessary. This is all some of the most weakest, crudest muscles is all this takes. You just have to find them. And really, all it comes down to is just compassionating just how vast your universe is, just how many people are living inside of you, just how many cells are completely oblivious to God. How many cells living in you right now are atheists or agnostic? How many cells in you think that their God is evil? That their God has enslaved you and is here to torture you and make your life horrible by never checking in with you, by denying your existence to you. You find yourself, you have a massive duty to all these henchmen, and you've never once said hello. You've never once sat in the captain's chair and hit that one green button that said attention on deck. This is your captain speaking. Fucking love you guys. You're doing great. That's all. It's like the simplest instructions. And we're not doing it because I think because of the yoke of responsibility that it puts on us. If we do not demonize the illness as something outside of us, right? As a foreign entity that is here that we have no control over, that we have no ability to change, you know. It's a deeper world
Yep.
there. And
Oh,
that world is going to look, I think that world actually looks like more people choosing death. I think we misunderstand that. The body's intelligent enough to where it knows, I'm done here. We don't even have that concept. We think everyone wants to survive all the time, no matter what, 24/7, that it's always a constant fight. Therefore, we must lose this fight. It must be a 50-50 chance. You see how we set that up? We set up the whole fucking lie. When the macrophagy only comes because you called me. The macrophagy shows up to the cell. Bitch, you called me. You told me to come here and eat you. Now you're saying, oh, I'm killing you. Dude, you called me. And you would need a macrophagy to do that. You would need someone to step in and allow you to have a tantrum to disassociate so you could do something hard, because that's how pleomorphic you are. You're that pleomorphic. You're so fucking pleomorphic, you've convinced yourself you're not pleomorphic. That is some pleomorphism right there. That is a profound pleomorphism, that you've convinced yourself you're a monomorphic or whatever.
Thank you so much, James. And thank you everyone who spoke today. James, I really mean that to everybody. Just now, I'm really appreciating the reach of silence and how for us the passing over that breach is really that an expression of seeing the reach of our silence. And I love everyone here and look forward to hearing from everyone again. I think there will be will it be a Saturday night ride tomorrow?
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm excited to hear the crew, and if everyone will unmute and say goodbye, we'll close this dojo.
We'll say, Deb, you are free.
Yes.
See you on Saturday.
Clarities. I love it.
Bye.
Find your clarities. Okay.